Hi people, what's up? Hope you guys are doing good so far this Wednesday. And I made a video yesterday talking about the offense and talking about how it was good, talking about how the body of work this year was well beyond expectation, but I am nothing if not fair and balanced. So I need to make a video about the other side of the ball too that covers things fairly and accurately. And what I can tell you is that for as good as the Seahawks offense was, the defense was about that bad. And I mean that almost literally because like I said, the Seahawks were ninth in points scored this year, and the defense was 25th in points allowed. 25th. So very similar distance from the bottom that the Seahawks had in distance from the top. Defense was actually a little bit closer to the bottom than the offense was from the top. So very close though, and that's why you have a team that has a 9-8 record. It averages out to be an approximately middle of the road team, and you end up winning 9 games partially because you have a relatively soft schedule and you get some favorable matchups you're able to take advantage of. So I want to explore this a little bit here. Just talk about the defense in a little more detail than just saying they're good or bad. So one thing I do want to stress before we move further. There was a point in time this year where this defense was atrocious. There was a point in time where this defense was one of the worst in the league. The way they played the last month kind of bailed them out of that to where they're just kind of bad. It's a bad defense. It's not awful anymore. You give up 21 to the Niners. You give up 24 to the Chiefs, who have the top offense in the league. 6 to the Jets and 16 to the Rams. That bails you out a little bit. But overall, the body of work is still pretty awful. You have to scroll down a little bit to get to the Seahawks on the ESPN rankings. Now, if you take a look at the breakdown, the areas where the Seahawks had problems, mostly the run defense and also their inability to get off the field. So basically, they can't stop the run, which leads to manageable third downs, which leads to third down conversions, which leads to longer drives, which leads to points. If you look at the breakdown, their pass defense in terms of like preventing big passing plays and not getting completely chewed up through the air was actually approximately average, I would say. Slightly above average. And they were good at forcing turnovers. They were ninth in the league in turnovers forced. So in that area, they were actually good. But the body of work definitely needs attention. And like I said, mostly it was an inability to stop the run. So that should inform priorities going into this offseason. We might need 3 new starters on the defensive line. I think everyone's pretty much on board with that. I don't think anybody's super married to Poona Ford or Quentin Jefferson. We got a couple guys on this line who could maybe be backups, but we might need 3 new starters just because these guys are not good enough. And it's not like they have upside to become great players. So I think that's the main thing. You really look at the breakdown of it. Yeah, the pass rush was really disappointing this year, but overall the pass defense wasn't the problem. Now, if our run defense was better, maybe we get chewed up through the air because teams don't just run on us all day. That's very possible. But as of right now, I'm looking at it and I'm going, we need to stop the run first. And I usually don't say things like that in the modern NFL, but right now our run defense is so bad, we can't even get to the point where the other team passes the ball. So that has to be addressed first, and I usually don't say things like that. So I want to compare this defense to previous Seahawks defenses since Pete Carroll got here, just like I did yesterday, to kind of illustrate that this is different than usual. 2021, last year. A lot of people said this defense was really bad, but at the end of the day, they were tied for 11th in points allowed. They were tied with Arizona, and actually, they were 1 point away from being tied with Indy and San Fran. So they were right in the mix. They missed the top 10 by a whisker. They missed the top 10 by basically a point. I mean, honestly, even they were 2 points behind the Chiefs' defense for points allowed. So this defense, which a lot of people look back on and kill, is like, oh, that defense was terrible. It wasn't. It was a lot better than the defense we have this year. So you look at 2020, which was another year where a lot of people look back at that defense and go, oh man, that defense was the worst ever. I can't believe we had that defense. They actually ended up 15th, right in the middle of the league. 1 point away from the Bears and 4 points away from the Bills on the other side. So basically in a mediocre sandwich of mediocre teams on defense. So you look at that and you go, I mean, it's not good, but it's not bad either. So what I'm trying to say is a lot of people look at the 2022 defense and they're like, oh, that's just like last year's defense or the defense before. No, the 2022 defense is a different level of bad. And other than that 1 month where they played really good in the middle of the year and then kind of at the end of the year, it was really, really atrocious. And I got to give them full marks for their atrociousness compared to even recent years. The only time in recent memory that this team was close to as bad on defense as they were in 2022 was 2019. 2019, they were 22nd. Close. Not as bad as this year, but in the same ballpark. So that's as close as it's gotten. Like, that defense was bad. Just like this current defense is bad. But still, there's a little scrap of overall competency there that you don't see in the current defense. And as we keep turning the clock back, you'll see that it just continues to be more obvious just how bad this defense was. 2018, the defense was actually borderline good, somewhere between above average to good. 11th. 11th in the league. Pretty decent defense. I don't know if I would call them good, but they were above average and they were good enough to win with. 2017, this was a Seahawks defense that had a lot of injuries and they still managed to be a little above average. They were 14th. 14th overall in points allowed. This was the team that I believe lost Sherman and Cam mid-season. They lost Averill early on in the season. They had Bennett, but Bennett was a shell of his former self. Wagner missed important moments. KJ Wright missed important moments. So this team had a lot of stuff to overcome. Like this defense, this 2022 defense, they lost Jamal Adams, and that was awful. Jamal Adams would have made the defense better. But what this team lost, the 2022 team lost, is nothing compared to what the 2017 team lost, and that defense still managed to be slightly above average. And then you turn back the clock to 2016, and immediately you're just hit with a wave of amazingness. 2016, third. And the only reason why they didn't finish first was Earl Thomas broke his leg. 2015, first. 2014, first. 2013, first. 2012, first. And, this year it's not even close. They won best defense in the league by almost 2 full points per game. Even the 2011 team that wasn't that good, they managed to finish 7th in the league in points allowed, below 20. And this was the rookie Richard Sherman year. This was, I believe, the second year of Earl Thomas. There was no Bobby Wagner yet. KJ Wright only became a starter partway through the season. A lot of holes had not been filled on this defense and still managed to be borderline great. It was a really good defense. It might have even been great. You have to go back to the first Pete Carroll year to find a defense as bad as the current one. And bringing things full circle, the 2010 defense was 25th in the league in points allowed. So maybe that's an indicator that the defense is about to go on another epic run of top 10 and top 5 and top 1 finishes now that we're 25th again. But I just really wanted to accentuate how bad this defense was, because I think there's a big push to lump this current defense in with previous defenses from 2021, 2020, even 2019. It has not been as bad as it is this year overall. The only positive I can really say about the defense is that they're starting to force turnovers again, which is something that in some recent years we really struggled to do. So being top 10 in turnovers forced is good. But what good is it if you're not going to produce a quality product alongside it? So what I'm going to say is There's going to be some questions this offseason about Clint Hurt. Going to be some questions this offseason about Sean Desai. I don't feel like it's their fault. I don't feel like they're really doing anything wrong, really. I feel like they're just kind of along for the ride. There are things going on in this defense that I don't believe come from those guys. It wouldn't make any sense. I see a defense that is trying to do some new stuff, but is also doing old stuff, and it's almost like you get the worst of both worlds, where the new stuff can't work because of the old stuff, and the old stuff doesn't work because of the new stuff. And looking at the offense last year, when the offense was just average. Now, that offense in part was average because we tried to play 3 games with a quarterback with a finger that didn't work. We had 3.5 games of a backup quarterback. That kind of stuff. That didn't help. But there was definitely an improvement in the process from year 1 to year 2 of Waldron. So hopefully there will be an improvement in the process from year 1 to year 2 of Desai and Hurt and this new Fangio scheme. So I will say this, Sean Desai is getting looked at for some defensive coordinator jobs. I believe that he's on the list. If that happens, that may completely shake up the plans. But look, this defense has not been good since 2016. The closest they have come to good was 2018 and 2021. They have not been top 10 since 2016. And this year it was worse than it's ever been pretty much. I mean, 2010, of course they were bad. They cut like 834 players before the season started. Like, that team was being completely remade. Of course that team sucked on defense. They sucked everywhere because they remade the roster overnight. There's a little bit of tolerance for being bad, but I would say not this bad. But let me know what you guys think. Peace out. Go Hawks.